Cita. Oops. Una cita. ¿En serio? ¿Con quién?
Why is somebody speaking Spanish?
I'm taking Spanish lessons online. I will finish them later.
Get the computer out.
Come here. Come here. Mommy's going to do work, okay? You could sit on my lap if you want. Let me get the blankie.
You want to see all the people that are online, Julie?
No.
Oh, you don't want to see? Oh, no. How do I know if I'm muted?
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Come here.
Come here.
Hey. All right, don't come here.
Everyone, you're going to need a little thing of water for our watercolors tonight. So if you want to go get that ready, I'm going to go get some for myself and I will be right back.
Mom has to do something with this hair. And I have to get a cup. Cup. Oh, I'll just use the cup in the kitchen. Oops. Look, you're upset. You want to sit up here with Mommy? Or do you want me to put this over here? Here, you can lie on the blankie. I know, Julie, you've got zoomies that need to get out. You excited? Ooh, wow. Here.
How's everybody doing? All right, well, it is 6:32. I want to honor everyone's time. So if you don't already have a little container, you just need a tiny bit of water for our watercolors this evening. So go and get yourself some if you need. We're gonna watercolor a bunch of tiles and then not tangle on them tonight because they need a little bit of time to dry. Usually I use a hair dryer, but I don't want you to have to get all your stuff. So we'll paint them and we'll set them aside, and we're going to actually be tangling on our little bijou, the itty bitty squares tonight, kind of like a warm up. So once you're all settled, let's get sort of centered in our space. Go ahead and declutter your workspace as much as you can. I just did a little bit of that. I have, all dollhouse stuff on the left-hand side of my table and carved out a little space for Zentangle on the other side here. So once you've done that and you have your water, let's take some deep breaths together and get ourselves centered. So go ahead and close your eyes. Let's breathe in deeply and slowly through your nose, and a long, slow exhale out through your mouth. And again, a deep, slow inhale through your nose and out through your mouth. And one more, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take a moment to do a body scan from the top of your head, releasing any tension in your face, your forehead, your jaw, your cheeks, your neck. Maybe take some circles, bring your ear over to your left shoulder, your chin down to your chest, your right ear over to your right shoulder, and face towards the ceiling. And then come around center again and bring your right ear to your right shoulder, your chin to your chest, your left ear to your left shoulder, and back through center. Take some shoulder shrugs, back, up and back, and roll forward. Maybe a gentle twist in your chair over to the left. And then switch it up over to the right. Wiggle your legs around, shake your thighs, roll your knees around in a circle one way and then the other. Circle your ankles in one direction and then the next. Wiggle your toes. And then settle your feet back down onto the floor. Put your hands gently in your lap. And just continue breathing. I invite you to set an intention for your Zentangle practice tonight. Maybe it's one of these things, maybe it's all of these things. To unleash your creativity, to be kind to yourself, to reserve judgment, to try something new, to make this valuable time for yourself, to be grateful, to appreciate, to feel at peace. When you're ready, take one more deep breath in and let it out. And then let's open our eyes. All right. So you're all muted, but you can always unmute if you have a question. We're going to be playing with our watercolors. And friends not in Stanford, did your packages arrive? I'm so sorry. That is a thumbs down. I'm really sorry about that. Do you have
I'm in Stanford and mine didn't either.
Well, you had to go to the temple to pick them up.
I know. Well, I had someone at the temple who obviously didn't notice.
Oh.
Oh dear. Okay.
Well,
Well,
Cantor, I checked right before and it's not here.
I know, we mailed them almost 2 weeks ago. I'm so sorry. Do you happen to have any watercolors on hand? No. Okay, so you're just going to hang out for this time. You could.
okay, I'm going to pop off. I'll catch up on the recording.
Oh, well, we're going to in about 10 or
No,
15.
it's okay. No, really, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. All right.
Cantor, I have colored pencils. Does that make anything different?
You could definitely put down some colored pencil. We're just going to create a background on some of like a watercolor background on some of these tiles. But this is not going to be the entirety of class. So if you want to hang out or if you want to come back in 10 minutes, you can certainly do that. Yeah, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, so I watercolor on the back on as a base for my Zentangle tiles all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do. I find that tangles take on a whole new life when there's color that we're layering underneath. So you could create, actually, let's try one of each. So let's do the white squares first, then you have 2 gray phi tiles as well. So let's try one with our string, with our border first. So you can go ahead and take your pencil and make your 4 dots, 1 in each corner, about 1/4 of an inch in. And then connecting your dots, turning your tile. Okay. If you wanted to, you could kind of make a string on here and put your different paints colors in, or you could just sort of go free form and see what happens. Maybe we'll try this one with a string and we'll do the next one without. So I'm really just randomly putting some very light little lines, really random. It just gives me places to play around with color. Then I'm going to set down my pencil. Each of your watercolor kits should have a little paintbrush in it. I'm going to get my paintbrush wet, and I'm just going to wet the entire inside my border. This will make the watercolors bleed and mix as you lay them down. The wetter you make it, the more they'll bleed and spread, but they will stay, they won't go farther than where the water is, which is kind of cool. It's the surface tension that keeps them within the border of the water. Okay, so just making sure it's nice and wet. All right. Now, these aren't the greatest watercolors, I must admit. They came in a pack of like 36 from Amazon. So you're going to want to really load up the pigment. So take your wet paintbrush and whatever colors you want. I like to pick sort of color families like greens and blues, or maybe red, orange, yellow. But you could go rainbow. Really whatever you want, but if you put too much paint all in one space, too many different colors, you end up with brown. So I'm just warning you there. So I'm going to start with this sort of darker blue here. And I'm really trying to get a nice amount on my paintbrush. And I'm going to start right in the middle. I'm going to get a little bit more water if I need. So see, they're not super vibrant. I'm going to go in again. I'm going to put some over here. I don't really want any harsh lines because that will detract from the Zentangle that we're going to put on top. So I'm using a lot of water here. I'm going to go into the lighter blue now. Right next to it, I'm going to sort of have it fade out to this lighter blue. I'm going to start to go with some green. Let's try the darker one first, see what that looks like. Let's come over here. I also sometimes like to leave little bits unpainted, like this little area here, this little white spot there. I'm going to leave that. I like the way that looks. I'm going to go into the lightest green now and see what that looks like down here. I like that. That's a nice bright green. So just have a play, have fun. And you see how it's not escaping past that border. I'm going to go for yellow now to continue that sort of fade over here with the green. Let's see what the purple looks like. What is this over here? So you can see I'm using the string as a guide, but then I'm letting the paint kind of go wherever it wants to. Is this purple over here? This one and then, oh yeah, it is. Okay, let's see what this looks like. And maybe I will add a little red. Once I kind of paint an area, I'm not going back to add too many other colors. I want to just kind of leave them so that they don't get muddied, but you can kind of invite them to blend together. Okay, and you can add more water to kind of get them to spread out a bit. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It looks brighter on the screen than in real life. It's pretty mellow. Okay, your tile will curl a little bit, that's fine. So when you're done with that one, just pick it up and set it aside. And let's go on to this one. We'll do no string, no border. We'll just add some color. If you want to put something underneath so that you don't paint your table, you can go ahead. If you don't care, it does come off very easily. It's just watercolors. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a water wash over the whole thing. You can see I still had a little bit of red, which is fine. Just going to wet the whole thing. Okay, so I had a lot of different colors in my last one. I'm going to stick to more just greens and blues. I think I said that when we started the last one, but this time I mean it. But I'm going to do some purple because I liked that dark color. I'm just going to do a couple of splashes of purple. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the blue. I'm moving kind of quickly because I don't want the paint to settle in and dry. I want to be able to move it around and have them interact with each other. Kind of doing these like starburst shapes. Okay, and I'm going to go to the lighter blue, fill in a bit. Actually, I don't find that blue all that much different from the other one, but we'll keep going with it. Maybe this lighter purple. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to move on to the phi tiles. So let's do one with a border and a string, just like with our first square tile. So I'm going to make my 4 dots.
Excuse me, what do you mean by the string?
Ah, the string.
I've never done Zentangle
Oh my
before.
goodness, I'm so sorry, Judy. Okay,
Okay.
so we have steps to the Zentangle process. The first step is gratitude and appreciation. The next step are these 4 corner dots that we did on that first tile. And then by connecting those 4 corner dots, we make a border. And then these lines that I drew inside here are the string.
Okay.
And they're sort of just an anchor and a place to start when we start putting the individual patterns onto our tile, but they're just a suggestion. And that's why we do them in pencil, because often we ignore them and then eventually they disappear.
Okay. I didn't realize they had to be faint, so mine are more obvious, but
That's okay.
I know now.
That's okay. My apologies. I was assuming a level of knowledge that was a wrong assumption. I forgot you hadn't tangled with us before. And don't worry, that's if you need more tiles, I can always give you more if you're unhappy with how that one came out. Okay, so now we're gonna make our 4 corner dots. We're going to connect those. And I'm pretty sure even if you drew those string lines in a dark way that they will still fade into the background once we tangle over them. So I would not be concerned at all. Okay. So we've made our border and now we can do our string lightly. Again, really whatever you want. It could be more linear. It could be curly cues. I always tend to make like a loopy loop kind of a thing. It's just gives me a place to put some different colors to start with. Okay, and let's decide on a color palette for this one. Well, no, let's wet our tile first inside of the border. You could experiment with leaving some gaps in your water wash. That sometimes makes interesting things happen. And again, we're not thinking too hard about this. We're not being too precise or worrying about, you know, what it's going to look like. It's a background. All right, so now we've got some water here. I'm going to do reds and purples this time. So I'm going to start with red. You can see I'm not a huge fan of like orange and yellow. I understand they have their place in the color wheel, but I like how the red is spreading though. That's cool. So I'm going to leave some gaps in the paint there. I'll show you some tricks once we tangle on these. I have secrets that I will share with you at a later date. Right, so I'm just sort of getting the paint to the edge of the border here. And don't worry if it goes over or if you have a little splatter, it becomes part of the charm. Okay, so when you feel like you're done with that one, we'll do one more, the other phi tile. This one with no border or string, we're just gonna paint the whole thing. We will do our wash. This actually reminds me, friends got me a reverse coloring book for Hanukkah. So the pages have all kinds of colors in different patterns and things already on the page. And then you're supposed to draw over top of the color that's already there. So this is exactly the same thing. It's a reverse coloring page. My tile is curling, so I'm just holding it down in the center. All right, let's see. This one's going to be all green and blue with some yellow. Maybe some blue. Can't help myself. I'm going back into my water cup a lot to get enough liquid to sort of move things the way that I want to. And then sometimes without putting any more paint on, I'm just taking a really wet brush and moving things around. Don't worry about getting, your different colors in your different paint pots. You can just kind of take a wet brush and clean it out when you're ready. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to leave that one alone. When you're done with your paintbrush, you can just rinse it, put it back in your kit, close it up, and save that for another time. Okay. So we're going to work with these little guys, these four little squares that you should have. They're called bijou tiles. Bijou is this little snail guy on the back here. He's the official mascot of Zentangle, and he's a cute little French snail. So these are his. Okay.
I have another question. Sorry.
Go for
Am
it.
I the only one that this is the first time? has everybody else done this? Because this is like so fast for me.
We're
But-
going to slow it way down now. The
Okay.
watercolor was meant to be fast.
Yeah.
And you can always go
And
back.
I watercolor, so, okay.
Yeah, if you didn't
Okay.
get to finish the watercolors, you can always go back to them later.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So, all right. So we're not going to do borders on these, but we're going to do a very linear string, same on each one. So I'll focus in on one for right now. We're going to make an X through the center from one corner to the other. So we're using our pencil now, and we're going to go lightly. Okay, so with our Zentangle pencil and drawing lightly from one corner to the other corner. And we don't need to worry. We don't use a ruler. We're just going to eyeball it and let it come out the way it comes out. Okay, then I'm going to turn my tile the other way. And I'm going to make another line. So we have an X through the center. And then we're going to make a cross or subdivide again, lengthwise. So from the middle of the top, going through the center of the X here, lightly with our pencil, and turning our tile, and from top to bottom, lightly with our pencil. So we get this pie, these pie wedges here. Okay, and we're going to do that on all four, the other three of our little bijou tiles as well. So here, I'll leave this one here for reference. So again, from corner to corner, lightly with our pencil. And from corner to corner, making that X. Okay, straight down from the middle of the top of the middle of the top, through the center of the X in one direction. Turn your tile and do the same thing, the middle of the top, through the middle of the X again. So you're coming out with 8 triangular shapes each time. Okay, we're going to do it again on the third. First, corner to corner. And then through the middle this way, and through the middle this way. And the very last one, same thing. All of these we're going to tangle exactly the same way. So it's a repetitive meditation. So once we do it, you'll get the hang of it, and then we'll just rinse and repeat for all 4 tiles. And we get a very beautiful meta pattern once we're done. Okay, so last one, we're going to make an X. Down through the center.
Micah,
Yes.
since I don't have any of the materials, I'm going to watch the recording when the materials come.
That makes sense.
'Cause
I'm really sorry.
That's okay. No problem.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Okay, and we are recording, so we'll make sure that that is available once Rabbi Jay is back from sabbatical, because the YouTube account is under his name. Okay, so now we have our 4 tiles that all look like this. Everybody good? Okay, so you can set down your pencil. now we get to the next step, which is tangling. So these are microns. They are slightly different than the regular micron 01s, which are also permanent. These are called the microperm. So I think these are just permanent on more surfaces than maybe the microns are. I just wanted to give them a try, so that's why you have them as well. If you don't have a kit and you have a regular micron 01, that's fine too. This is just these are just the preferred pens of Zentangle. Really nice ink, and they play well with the tiles. All right, so I'm going to isolate just this one here. You can start in any corner. You can uncap your pen, put the cap on the end. And I'm going to start by making a little crescent in the corner of my tile. And just for a frame of reference, it's about as big as the metal nib of the pen. That's how tall it is from the corner to the top of the line that I just drew. If you just want a reference, doesn't have to be exact. Okay. And then after you do that, make a very thin aura. So you're going to make another parallel, another line that goes right up above. Okay, and then go ahead and do one more, just the same width as the first one, like so. Okay, so you got 3 little curving lines. All right, now in this space that we have down here, we're going to fill it with orbs. We're calling them orbs and not circles because they don't have to be perfectly spherical. They can be different sizes. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this space with some little round things. They can kind of go off the tile. Okay, and then I'm going to color inside of them, but I'm not going to touch the orb, the outline of the orb that I just drew. So basically I'm making a smaller orb inside. I'm going to color almost all the way, but I'm going to leave a tiny bit open. We've done these before. They're kind of like fish eggs is what they sort of end up looking like, or seeds from a part of a blackberry or something like that. Some of the smaller ones you might need to color the inside in. Okay, so something like that. Now, for our next step, I'm going to focus on this point here and this point here, and I'm going to make a curved line that arcs between that point and that point. Okay, I'm sort of drawing it in the air before I go. You can do the same. Again, this is not about perfection. We're not measuring anything. We're just making shapes. So here we go. All right, I'm going to do the same idea that we did right here. I'm going to do another really thin line there. Then I'm going to make an aura that's a little bit bigger. Like so. And then one more really thin one on the outside of that last one that I just drew. So I'm noticing these pens have a bit more ink that comes out when you're using them. So a really light touch with them is all you need. They're a little bit different than the other microns. All right, so now we're going to play in this big space that's right here. I'm going to turn my tile, and we have this handy guideline here that's telling us where the middle is roughly. So I'm going to start there and I'm going to draw in ink over that line from that aura up top down to this one down here. Okay, then I'm looking in this space to the left and I'm going to divide this space over here in half from top to bottom. Same thing over here on this side, going to divide it in half. Roughly, it's, doesn't have to be exact. All right, and then each of these 4 sections now, I'm going to divide one more time. So dividing that one in half, that one in half, that one in half, and that one. Now I'm just going to give a little bit of weighting to each of these spokes on the top end. So I'm just adding a little bit of ink on either side of that line. It's kind of making them look like petals a bit. Okay, and then we can do this little, these little feathered lines. I'm pulling my pen up and then letting it sort of come away from the paper. A couple in each one at the bottom there. Okay, makes it very petally, if that's a word. Okay, when you're done with that, we have this band here that's empty. We're going to put some nice orbs in there again. We're not going to color these ones in. I'm going to leave them open. I'm going to start in the middle. And then I'm going to go to the left, I think, probably because I'm a lefty. I'm not going to make an entire orb. I'm going to make it so that it's nestled behind. So it's sort of like a C shape. And I'm going to do that all the way till I get to the end. And then I'm going to do the same thing going in the other direction on the other side. I'm just coloring in the little kind of empty spaces in the background. Okay. Okay. When you are ready, or maybe if you're still working, just pause and look up for a second. So we're going to do another arc, just like we did with this one using our pencil lines as a guide. So I'm going to go from these corner lines, another arc that kind of goes up and over this way. Okay, so from this corner to this corner with a nice flowing arc, like so. And this time, I'm going to put my auras inside instead of towards the outside. I want to make this space a little smaller, so I'm going to do 2 thin auras just inside the line that I just drew. So one like that. And one like that. You can see I was turning my tile this way because it felt more comfortable to be drawing those arcs down this way, but you turn your little tile however is most comfortable for you. All right, we're going to divide up this space much like we did down here with this one. So we have our center line, more or less, here. I'm going to divide this space in half, more or less, ish. And I'm going to divide this space over here in half, just eyeballing it. Okay, and then each one of these 4 spaces dividing roughly in half again. Everybody doing all right? Okay. All right. So just watch me for this for a second. Just requires a little bit of focus. We're going to make triangular shapes on either side of these lines. So I'm taking that center line, I'm starting at the top, and I'm going down here like that. Okay, so I'm just making a cross through the diagonal of this rectangular shape here. Okay, then in the next one to the right, I'm doing the mirror. So from the bottom left to the upper right. Okay, on this space here, from the upper left to the bottom right. And then from the bottom left, it kind of goes off somewhere over there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing reverse on the other side. So starting from the center, upper right to bottom left, bottom right to upper left, upper right to bottom left, and then bottom right off. All right. I'll give you one more minute to take care of that. So I'm going back to this first diagonal line that I drew just a moment ago. On top of it, so in this section here, I'm going to make a little ladybug shape that rests on that line. And then I'm going to color it in. So this little lump sits on top of that line that we just drew. And then I'm going to aura that line till I fill the space. And I'm not going to go over this line here, but I'm going to imagine how it would keep going. Like that. It's a little bit like a thumbprint. It's a variation on crescent moon. By the way, you'll notice I haven't named a lot of tangles tonight. They're mostly tangulations and just pattern drawing. So we're not learning new tangles. They're just kind of tangle variations.
Cantor, it looks like a badminton birdie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like from the
You
top.
put all four together, it's going to be a flower.
Ah, you ruined the surprise. Yes.
Is it important for us to know the names? I mean, is there a place that we should, just check it out?
Yeah, absolutely. These don't really have names. I mean, maybe these
Okay.
orbs are called tipple, but there's hundreds and hundreds of Zentangle patterns.
Right.
When they have names, I will name them for you, and we usually write them on the back of our tile at the end so we remember what they were
Right.
called. Um,
Okay.
there are Tangle step outs where you can see all of the different how you draw them step by step. I believe there's a website called tanglepatterns.com, which has so many if you want to explore
Thank
further.
you.
But we will spend some time learning new tangles as the weeks go on. All right, so let's do some more of these, whatever we want to call them, badminton birdies. This is a variation of crescent moon, and I'll share that at the end too. Let's do one going in the other direction on the other side here. So still on the upper part, I'm going to lay that little ladybug guy down. I'm going to color it in. And I'm going to aura. And I'm not going to draw over the line that's already there. I'm kind of going to imagine how the line would keep going. Okay. I'm going to go to this one over here. So all of the upper sides, the wedges, are going to get this crescent moon pattern here. So go ahead and put your ladybug on the next one. And aura. And then over here. So the ladybugs are going roughly in the center of that line, but it's not an exact science. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Remember to relax your grip on your pen, relax your shoulders away from your ears. When you've gone all the way to the end on one side, you're going to go and do the same thing on the other side. And if something happens and your ladybug crescent moon thingy ends up in a space that you did not intend it, that's all right. Just make it a part of your tile. It's the imperfections that make it come alive, that make it something that AI couldn't create. It's the human element. For me, that's what makes it beautiful. We don't want all of our tiles to come out looking exactly the same. We want to be able to see each person's personality and style come through. And one of my favorite things is seeing how you all interpret my instructions and how you take something that we're all doing together and make it your own. Okay. So let's shade this one when you're ready. In a minute, I'll give you another minute. So that, and then we'll do another one. So then you'll have all the steps that you need to. If we don't get to finish all 4 tonight, you can finish on your own for homework, but I think we might. So when you're finished with your pen, you can cap it for a moment. You can pick up your Zentangle pencil. So the next step in the Zentangle process, after we've put ink to tile, we can do some shading. And this is when this lovely 2-dimensional image becomes 3-dimensional. So this is when it comes to life. So I tend to shade going back, starting where I began and moving through the pattern, the way that we drew it. So I'm going to start with my pencil. I'm using the side. I'm not using it tip straight on. I'm going to put a little bit of graphite right along that first aura that we drew. I like to make little circles. It's subtle. And then on the top of that other aura, so I'm not shading the aura, I'm shading on either side. I'm going to go ahead and put a nice thick amount of graphite there. It's darkest closest to the aura, and then it gets a little bit lighter as I move away from it. And we're going to have a chance to blend that all in with our tortillon in a second. Then in each of these petals, I'm going to make like a little crescent shape in the top of each one. So I'm not touching the upper edge. I'm leaving a little bit of white at the very top, and I'm making this sort of U shape in the petal. I'm going to put all the graphite down, and then we'll blend with the tortillon. You see what happens. It's quite fun. For these orbs, maybe if they're big enough, you just want to add a little bit of graphite where each one tucks behind the one that came before it. Just a tiny bit, just a little line. They'll look like they're nestling like a string of pearls. Now, on these triangular pieces here, I only am going to shade the right-hand side of each of these triangles. So I'm going to leave the other one completely unshaded, and I'm going to color this one all the way in. I don't need too much graphite. This one would be the right-hand side if there were 2 sides. Okay, then this one. This one. Nope, not that one. And I started to, and I put some there, and that's okay. And these are just shading suggestions. There's a million different ways that you could shade these shapes. So maybe for these crescent moon things, maybe let's just shade this upper edge here where we have where the aura meets the pattern. And you could leave this upper section empty, just as it is. You could sort of blend out those lines with your tortillon if you want to, or you could make a pattern in pencil and let that kind of be a very subtle background. What pattern could we use, you ask? The first thing that comes to mind is printemps. So printemps is the name of one of our favorite Zentangle patterns. It means spring in French, you might have guessed. And it's a play on words because it's a spiral shape. So it looks like a spring. It is exactly what you would imagine. So I'm using my pencil and I'm not going to shade this, but I'm going to add some printemps spirals to become a background. And I'm going to just sort of lay them in here. They'll overlap when one comes up against one that's already there. I'm just going to draw behind. They can be all different sizes. It's just a little background. It's going to make those lines that we have there just disappear. Okay. So once you've put all the graphite that you want on your bijou tile, you can set down your pencil and pick up this handy dandy little thing called a tortillon. It's a blending stump. You can see I've already used mine. We don't want to press too hard on the tip of it because they will collapse. They're just sort of like rolled paper. So if you use them gently, they will last you a long time, although they're not a big investment. So I'm going to, again, go back the way I came. I'm going to just blend in where I started, these little orbs down in the corner. And then for the petals, I'm going to blend up, moving the graphite up the seams here where the petals meet each other. And I don't want to make the whole petal gray. I want shades of gray. So from darkest closest to this aura down here and getting lighter as I go up. And then these little U shapes that I did, I'm gonna just buff them out a little bit, but I'm leaving this middle part unshaded. I want it to look like it's coming off of the paper. Okay, so that's a lovely shading effect there. My little orbs, I'm just going to blend them out a little bit. So I'm not coloring the whole thing in gray. I'm just shading them a bit and leaving some on the outer edges unshaded. Makes them look very roundy. And the auras, I'm trying to keep nice and clean and unshaded. You might get some graphite in there and you might have some from when we were drawing our dividing lines and everything. So, you know, but the goal is to keep them mainly white. Then I'm just going to blend in these sides of the triangle. These are all gray on one side. I'm just smoothing the graphite. And we've got these little lines here that were our dividers. Like if they bother you, you could kind of, you can buff them out a little bit. Or you could just leave them alone, kind of up to you. But just a little gentle rub and they really fade away. And then with these up at the top, same idea. I'm bringing the graphite down the seam a little bit, but it's dark at the top and it's unshaded at the bottom. Just want some variation. The Zentangle has a nice texture, so I don't want to muddy that. And I said I wasn't going to shade the printemps up here, but I'm kind of curious what happens if I, without adding any more graphite, I'm just kind of shading a bit right by the aura line, just to kind of see what happens. Just gives it a little bit of definition. All right. So that is 1 of 4. So I was thinking about this like yoga, you know, you don't do a flow on your right side and then not go back and do the same flow on the left side. So why wouldn't we do this same pattern a few times more? And the more you do it, the more confident you feel, the more comfortable you are, and you might discover something new in each iteration of drawing the same pattern. It's never the same twice. So, you know, let go right now of trying to make them all exactly the same. It's not going to happen, and that's not the point. So, are we ready to move on? Great. So just take your, you know, find the next one that looks good to you. You can keep your already made one nearby as a reference, but I'll walk you through the same way. If you feel like you're comfortable and you know where you're going, you can go at your own pace, but I'll walk you through another one this time. All right, so I don't like this corner that I was, because it's like you can see it's a little wonky, so I'm just going to turn it this way. This one was a little bit more in the center of the corner. You can see they're not 90-degree angles at the edges. They have a lovely deckled edge, which lends to the sort of handmade nature. Okay, so again, we start with that first little arc, and just roughly again, that width of the metal pen nib, 2 little auras, and then little orbs nestled in this little corner nook. And the orbs they don't have to be whole. They can kind of fall off the edge. And then we're coloring in the middle without touching the edge of the orb, and maybe leaving a little open dot if it's big enough. Some of them are going to get fully colored in, and that's okay too. When you're ready, we will make another arc going from this point here to this point here, curving through this space. So it's mimicking these first auras that we made, just wider, larger here. And we're doing one, and then a really slim one, then a slightly wider one. That's where the second set of orbs go. And then one more thin one on the outside. Okay, you know where we're going. We're going to divide this with this pencil line that's already there for us. Divide this left-hand side in half. Divide the right-hand side in half. And then each of those 4 wedges in half again. If you end up with one more or one less, don't worry, it's fine. Okay, you can give that little bit of weighting, that little extra ink at the tops there to round them, make them look a little bit more petally. I'm going to do those little veins that we kind of flick and pull the pen up and away. Then we put our orbs in this aura, in this band here. Start in the center and then nestle the orbs behind on one side and then the other. And look how different they look when before and after the shading is done. Very different. Okay, another aura, a big one, another arc. So from corner to corner diagonally, we're going to curve up and over this way. And remember, this time we put those little border auras inside, just making this space a little bit smaller. Take your time as you draw this. Again, you'll see I'm holding mine so that I'm drawing vertically towards myself, but you draw however feels comfortable for you. I feel it's better to draw towards oneself rather than away, but everybody is different and it's really about your own comfort and ease. Remember to relax your face, relax your hands, remember to breathe. All right, and then we're going to divide up this band again using our center line here. Dividing this half in half, roughly. Dividing this half in half. And then each one of these 4 sections in half again. Leaving us with 8 rectangles. If you have 9 or 7 or any other number, that's okay too. Zentangle is not an exact science. And that is why we don't use erasers in Zentangle, because there are no mistakes. Whatever happens on our little tile, we figure out how to make it as beautiful as we can. All right, let's make those little triangle shapes. So dividing each of these rectangles in half on the diagonal and alternating from which side, up and down. Easier to watch me do it than for me to try to say it, what I mean. So starting in the center, top left to bottom right, bottom left to top right, top left to bottom right, bottom left to top right, which might go off the tile, and that's fine. Okay, other side, top right to bottom left, bottom right to top left, top right to bottom left, bottom right to top left or thereabouts. And then we put our crescent moon little ladybug friends on the top parts of each of these sections that we created. In the middle of each of these lines, more or less. And aura-ing till we get to the neighboring line. Up to you how you want to go. I'm going to go to the left. You go at your pace. Turning your tile as you need to so that your drawing hand stays comfortable. I just looked over at my watercolors. This one got totally curvy. We'll be able to fold it back the other way in a little bit, but it was a funny shape. The others didn't do that. And then I'm going to go over to the other side, do the other ones. Just enjoying the hopefully easy, calm repetition of these auras, this relatively simple pattern. Just have to pay attention to where I'm putting them. All right, so I'm done with inking, so I'll give you a moment, but I'm just going to take a minute and examine the two side by side, shaded and unshaded. The shaded one looks bigger to me. It's like an optical illusion. I guess technically it would weigh more because it has more graphite on it.
Micah, when you did the little orbs down at the bottom, did you color in the space between them or did you leave them uncolored?
So well, this one I left some of them uncolored. This one bled a little bit, and then these kind of I left more room in the orbs themselves and colored the background. It's kind of just whatever happens. I leave it up to you.
Okay, I was just
Great. We ready to do some shading on this one? If so, take your pencil and do the same thing, just like we did. So a little bit of graphite here by that first arc that we made. Some graphite down at the bottom of these petals. Little U shapes. And we're trying not to touch all the way to the top. We want that little bit of white. And when you're ready, the little orbs, just shading a little bit where they tuck behind the ones that came before. I'm going to go ahead and shade the right hand side of each bisected triangle here. And then a little more on this upper edge here. And if you'd like some printemps, some spirals for texture in the background. And the spirals, the printemps can be big and small. They can go behind one another, nestle in between. And when you're ready, you can take up your tortillon and go back the way you came and do some shading. Leaving areas that are very dark and medium, then totally white. It's a very old joke at this point, but you want shades of gray. How many shades of gray, might you ask? I'll let you answer.
maybe you want to be between shades of gray.
Is that the sequel? Is that the...
Oh, that's a young adult book that came out at the same time.
Oh.
Really bad.
Oh no.
The book was good, but the title was a problem.
The poor choice, yeah. All right, and then up to you what you want to do with your printemps if you drew it. Okay. So I don't think we're going to have time to do the other two in the few minutes that we have left, but you can finish the others for homework. You can see what's happening here. Look how cool that is. And I'll show you, well, I want to see how you're doing. So let's finish the Zentangle ritual. As if we have finished our project, but you can just imagine how the other four are going to go. And I'd like you to work on that for this week so we can share them all together next week. So hold your tiles out away from you for a moment. You've been looking at them very close up. So you take a look at them from a different angle, turn them upside down, turn them this way and that, admire them. I'm sure they are beautiful. I'm sure they don't look like mine, and I'm sure they're great. So after we admire, then on the front where we drew, we're going to put our chop. Our chop is something that identifies this tile as mine or yours from the front. So usually, it could be a symbol. I usually do an initial. I like to draw an M. You can put it anywhere you like. Because this is a set of four, maybe you want to put your initial on every one, or maybe you just want to put it on one of them. That's up to you. So I'm going to put a little M right in there. Okay, so I put my chop on, tiny little M. And then on the back, I'm going to write my name. I'm going to write the date, which is the 15th. And I'm going to write Zentangle with Temple Sinai. And if there was a name of a pattern that I wanted to remember, I could write it on the back also. So we did printemps. We did a variation of crescent moon. That's this guy here. And these orbs, you could call them orbs, you could call them tipple. It's not crucial. And we were playing also around with aura, which also isn't the name of a tangle, but it is a technique that we use often. So if you wanted to remember, we did a lot of aura-ing, you can put that on the back too. And maybe you want to write how you are feeling, if you enjoyed this tangle, or if you were feeling stressed and now you feel more relaxed. I don't know, it's something to remind you of this moment if it was enjoyable for you. And then my favorite part of Zentangle in a group is that we create a mosaic. So if we were in a room together, we would lay all of our tiles out on a table together and admire the mosaic that all of our tiles create. On Zoom, what we do is I'm going to take off my spotlight and I'm going to ask everyone when they're ready and if they're comfortable with it to hold up your tiles to the screen. Beautiful, so we can see how it went. They look stunning. Judy, you did great. A great first job. I love them. Beautiful. These are fantastic, everyone. They look great. So I want to show you what the four look like. I'm sure you can imagine. I didn't do them curved on the outer edge. I did them straight across. but look how cool that is. So have fun. And
Micah,
yeah,
what do we do with the watercolor ones?
we're going to do them next week. Those are for the next
Oh,
2 classes. I
got
wanted
it.
to do the watercolor, give them lots of time to dry. We'll use them next time.
Got it.
Next time we're going to use the rectangular ones, either one, whichever one you want. That'll be next week's project. I just wanted to get them set up because putting pen on wet tiles does not work well.
Would it be helpful to flatten them out before then? Should we get some books on them?
Yeah, I just folded this one back in the opposite
Yeah.
direction really gently. It'll obey.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Cantor, how many? So when mine come, I want to do it. How many are there?
So we painted all of the ones that weren't bijous. You'll have 2 phi tiles, the rectangular ones, and you'll have 2 white squares. Do all of them. One of each, we did a border and a string, and then the other 2 were just freehand to the edges. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just have fun painting them, and we'll play with them next time.
Well, do we need any more supplies or anything? Should we cut little pieces and that type of thing?
No, unless you just want more surfaces to work on to practice. But no, I try with these kits to give you everything you need to do the tangles and the tiles that I am teaching that day. So,
Okay.
there are other tools that people who have tangled with me in the past have accumulated over the years. So sometimes I mention other pens or pencils and things. But I try really hard to always make sure that you can do the project with what you have in each individual kit. So if you want more things, I can help you out, but just let me know.
So Micah, when we were on the airplane, I was tangling and Ashton said, can I color one of your tiles?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I colored this one in pencil and then I you can see the color in the background.
Wow.
They colored it and then I tangled over top of it on the plane.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Really good.
Although I have to say it was harder to work on colored pencil on the tile than I think it will be with watercolor on the tile.
Yeah.
Because it didn't totally soak in. So the pen fought with it a little bit, but it still was really fun.
Yeah. Watercolor, the colored pencils often have wax in them.
Yeah.
So that makes it, the pens don't like that. Watercolor is it doesn't involve the pen at all. And there are watercolor pencils and also chalk pencils they don't compete with the pen as much as like traditional colored pencils. So just if you're.
And I mean, we were on an airplane, so it was like the low end cheap colored pencils that they had with them. So.
Right. No, but and coloring in on a Zentangle tile, that you've already inked is also, then you've made yourself a coloring book. So our coloring page.
I didn't like this pen. It was like bleeding and
Yeah.
I couldn't make it be even.
Yes, it's a different experience. I got used to it after a while. If you just barely touch it to the paper, it obeys a little bit better. But I agree. I just wanted to try them out and see what they were like because they were offering them.
Look what the first middle one,
Yeah.
those lines were like all over the place, not great. So I picked up my regular O1 to do the rest of it, but that's not going to work when I put them together because
here's what I recommend, Marcia. You do one with the other pen on every one. And then it's intentional. It's not a mistake.
Yeah, Glenn got frustrated and pulled out his regular Micron on 01, and so did I. And what I'm noticing is it's actually not that noticeable, except that the intensity of the darkness in the center was more noticeable. But we switched it pretty early on.
Yeah.
What is the other pen?
It's also a Micron. I'll show it to you.
Thank you.
It's just not the micro perm or whatever this one is.
Cantor, I used the PN and it worked really nice.
PN is fine too. So this is a regular Micron. It's like tan.
All right, give me
but the O1 is the width, the thickness of the nib. So this is an O1 too as well, but we can see we're experiencing that the ink comes out slightly
This
different.
has a lot more ink in it.
Yeah. Well, and this might be fun if you're drawing on plexiglass or wood or something. I don't know, whatever you might want to do. And the microns, they come in all different nibs. Like I have an 08, which is a real thick one here. They look very similar, so you have to look at the number on them. And then they come in different colors too. This is a brown one.
Micah, I'm still spotlighted. You should probably switch yourself back.
Oh, that's okay. So Judy, if you want to know more, happy to meet and I can show you things, or we can practice together, whatever is most helpful to get you up to speed. But it is not meant to be an exacting or demanding practice. It's supposed to be fun and relaxing, and pretty much anything goes. So.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks. See you next week.
Thank
We'll
you.
tangle on our painted tiles next time.
Great.
Micah.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Welcome.